Yeah! Woo! All right, folks, we are here wrapping up stop number 3 of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit on Lake Martin. Our champion is Jason Abram.
That's right. Finally won one.
It's been a while. You've been trying for this.
I've been busting my butt for this for years. You know, I've come close a couple of times. I've just never been able to finish it off. Something always fell apart, and it almost fell apart here, but it held on just enough.
Well, it was a pretty awesome tournament. It was down to the wire for sure. But will you take us out here and show us how it's done?
Absolutely. You know, I love to get out here again. The fish here are just, it's plentiful. It's a lot of fun fishing out here right now, so let's get at it.
All righty, let's go. So Jason, we're down here, it's the lower end of the lake, which is mostly where you fished. And this is kind of doing what you did every morning. Like you would go and catch spotted bass before you tried to catch largemouth.
Absolutely. I started throwing a skinny dipper every morning, you know, just covering lots and lots of shoreline in the lower end of the lake, trying to catch a decent limit of spotted bass every morning.
Did you ever catch largemouth doing this, or was it pretty much spot game?
You know, actually, I did catch one really big largemouth on day 2 or 3. What day? I guess it's day 2 that I had.
Probably day 2. That was the magic.
Yeah, day 2. I caught right around the bend here. I'll show you. I have found this little magical tree that I did catch a 5'4" largemouth out of. So you know, that's pretty much set me up. But yeah, you know, that was only really big fish that I caught on a skinny dipper. But I would catch lots of numbers, and I could, you know, almost every day I could push my limit to almost 9.5, 10 pounds on just the skinny dipper.
And like sometimes you might have one follow it and you could catch it off a bed or something like that too. Like
that's right. I was using it as a search bait, you know, and that's why I sort of settled into this lower section of the lake. I didn't want the really ultra clear because they were a little more skittish for me. This, I was covering a lot of water, so I was hoping I could find fish that other people wasn't seeing, that they would just come up and react to, and I could find them and mark them in practice and stuff, so I could go back and catch them in the tournament.
Okay. And you were like, you know, we just came out of the back of a pocket and didn't even fish it in this scenario. Like you were really sticking, from what I saw, to a little bit of a steeper bank, right?
I was looking for spots that were pushing some of the bait up against a bank and just feeding. Because a lot of times, you know, if I'd catch one, I could catch like 4 in a row. I could
Really?
power pole down, I could throw up there, I'd catch 4, 5 in a row really quick. It was like just them little pods of, you know, buck bass were up pushing bait against a bank feeding. So if I could run into them pretty quick in the morning, I could catch a limit in a matter of 15, 20 minutes sometimes.
That's pretty cool. That's neat. And then for this, it was the skinny dipper, and then later on, you'd kind of transition over to the docks.
Well,
the worm, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, every morning, you know, it's cloudy. You know, it wasn't, to me, I needed the sun to be on the docks because, you know, this lake is full of really massive docks, and I needed the sun to position them in the shade. I didn't want to have to fish the whole dock. I was trying to cover lots of water, so I wanted the shade. So the dock had a very, very limited amount of shade where them big ones were laying.
All right. This spotted bass deal and just this lower end of the lake in general, did you fish the whole lake in practice and get dialed in pretty quickly down here, or was this area sort of something that developed as
you know,
the tournament went on?
the first day of practice I put in at Wing Creek, you know, where we launched at, and I fished around there, and I caught quite a few little fish, but the water was just, it was really dirty, and I just didn't like the water color for what I wanted to do here. You know, I thought spots would be the deal to win. I thought you was going to have to catch spots and then maybe catch some largemouth to go along with it. So my deal was, and then, you know, about 12 or 1 o'clock on day 1 of practice, I just said, well, I've never been here, so I rode around just to see. And this area is where the clear water and the muddy water sort of started mixing, and it had a deep green tint to it, I would say. So to me, that was what I was looking for.
So for the dipper, give me the lowdown on basically your rod, reel, line, all that jazz, and then how you were retrieving it, how you're actually fishing it.
I was throwing the skinny dipper this week on a 7.1 G Loomis medium heavy NRX rod, and I had it on a Shimano SLX reel. The speed ratio on this reel was a 7.2. I was covering lots of water. I'm moving it. If you even can see in the video, I am really moving this thing. So I was covering a lot of water, so I went with the 7.2 gear ratio reel so I could really move it. I had this on 14-pound test Sunline, so I wasn't really worried about, you know, anything breaking me off with that.
I really love the high end and like normal people end you've got going on your rod and reel setup. I think that's phenomenal. For your retrieve, how, you know, you're reeling rod tip down, how important was it to make sure you were at a certain point in the water column, that kind of stuff?
Well, I figured out what I needed it to be is just where I could not see the bait. So I try to set the speed of my trolling motor. I try to get the constant speed of my trolling motor and the constant speed of my reel retrieve just where the bait disappeared after about 3 feet on the cranks. I wanted the bait just to disappear, and that's where all the bites come. I never seen a single fish bite my skinny dipper, and you know the water is not ultra clear, but it's still pretty clear here. But I wanted the bait just out of sight, so, and that seemed to be the deal. If I had it on bottom, you know, they wouldn't really bite it. It needed to be in that little 3.5 foot range, just enough so I couldn't see it, but they could.
So Jason, this is the tree. Right in the back of this little pocket here. Give me the lowdown.
This is the tree. You know, that tree, you can actually see it good now. The water's dropped quite a bit since we started this thing. But this tree, the edge of it is setting in about 15 to 18 foot of water. And the magical cast was right there where that, you can see the trunk of it. And, you know, I can make pretty much that cast right there, and every one of the big fish that I caught off this tree come off of that particular cast right there.
Come on.
Come on, eat it.
On the one hand, I'd love for you to catch like a 5-pounder right now. On the other hand, you probably would have really liked that yesterday. It would have made your day a lot easier.
You know, if I could, I fished this tree on day 2. On day 2, I fished it 1 time. On day 3, I only fished it twice. On day 4, I come to this tree 4 or 5 times. I can't quite remember. But day 4, it just did not produce. And then, you know, it was really if I could have caught 1 fish off this tree, I knew that it would be the fish that absolutely, they couldn't catch me.
Oh.
Still a good one. I mean, that would have been helpful right there.
That is not the fabled 4-pounder, but
No,
gosh, that's a good spot right there.
Yep.
Whoa, settle down 1 second,
And
buddy.
it come off that exact cast. I don't know. That's the cast.
Look how he got that bait too.
I told
like,
you, man.
All the way in there. That's incredible. Come on out of there, buddy. And there we go. Lake Martin produces. The tree produces.
Yep. Tree produced another one.
Not a giant, but we're gonna take that one for sure. Gosh, this is fun. Jason, basically the other half of your tournament was fishing a floating worm on docks. And it was how you caught some of your really big key fish.
Yeah, you know, I waited for the sun to come up every day. You know, I was sitting there by
Not now, right now.
Yeah, no, the sun, you know, and that's why I waited for the sun. If you look at that dock right now, you can see there's so much shade up underneath that dock. You know, that fish could be literally anywhere up underneath the dock. That's why I tried to wait till the sun got up. That shade line would really shrink around 10:30. The shade line in the docks would really shrink. So that's why I tried to wait to target them. And the fish that I was actually targeting under them docks were big females. They wasn't spawning females. They were pre-spawn females that were coming up just to warm up before they went to the bank to lay eggs. So, you know, that was my strategy. I wasn't sight fishing really at all. I was trying to catch the ones that were getting ready to go to the bank that were a little less pressured than some of the ones that were already locked down.
Yeah. Where on the docks would they be? Like, were you fishing the whole thing wherever there was shade, or were you aiming at a particular section usually?
I wanted the shade that was in less than 2 feet of water. That was like on that back ramp right there where that jet ski's at.
Yep.
That's where she would be laying at, because that would be the warmest water that she could get up underneath, would be like that little dock right there. That water was warming up the fastest. So I would literally make 1 or 2 casts at the very back edge in that shade and go to the next dock. So that I was fishing really fast. You know, there was guys catching them off the docks, but the ones I was targeting were very Pacific, big females just underneath the last foot of the dock.
So Jason, give me kind of the lowdown on just how you fish a floating worm, how you approach this thing, because that's a technique that basically everyone in the South gets familiar with and learns how to catch a lot of fish on.
Yeah, you know, in the South, a floating worm in the spawn, it just is one of them things you go to. But you know, this right here, it's just a 6/8 medium heavy rod.
Oh
Right
my
there,
goodness.
right there he was. Right there he was. But like I said, that was the whole deal on like pulling up to a dock like this. I'd pull up, I'd drop my power poles. I would try to target either that last one or just that. That would be, you know, the shallowest part, the warmest part of the dock. And you throw a floating worm over there. And basically what you're trying to do for people that's never worked a floating worm is you're trying to think that right there, oh, I missed him.
It's got to be small.
Yeah, he's got to be a little one. But you're trying to make that thing almost like walking a spook underwater is what you're trying to do. You're trying to make it walk underwater. And that's the deal.
You're not really getting it that far below the surface either, right? It's
No.
pretty much like less than a foot below, basically.
Oh yeah, most of bites happen within 2 feet. As soon as it hit the water, I'd let it set for a second. The first 1 or 2 pops of the rod tip, every one of these fish I seen eat. So every one of them big fish I caught in the tournament, I seen come get it,
Wow.
which is, it's tons of fun. It's tons of fun. When you're fun fishing, it's great, but when you're tournament fishing, you know, it's a little nerve-wracking that you know that that's a 4 or 5 pounder on the end of the line, and that's a lot of money that's going to be won off that fish.
I bet. What's your specific setup here? Because this is a new color for Reaction Innovations, not a new worm.
No, this is a Reaction Innovations flirt worm. The color is methylate. You know, this worm right here is still in a test mode, I guess we can call it. But yeah, it's just not a worm that they've made yet. But I'm throwing it on a 6/8 G Loomis NRX rod with a Daiwa Procyon reel. Line size, you know, I got 16-pound braid, a Sunline braid to a 12-pound Sunline snapper fluorocarbon leader.
All right. And then what's your hook on that too? Because I feel like, you know, that's something that seems like it could be particularly important considering the technique.
I run a 3/0 wide gap Gamakatsu hook in it is what I use in it.
Okay, so nothing that fancy really.
No,
you can buy that off the shelf anywhere.
Yeah, it's nothing fancy about it whatsoever. It's just one of them patterns that you gotta stick with. You run a lot of docks. I was not getting a lot of bites. You know, when I moved over to largemouth fishing every day, I was fishing for 2, maybe 3 bites a day, and that was it. I was running lots and lots of docks, covering lots of water with that bait, and just trying to hope to run into 1 or 2 big 4 or 5 pound females every day.
Well, Jason, give me a sense of what it's like to get this win. Because you've been at this a while, and there are a lot of decorated anglers in Tennessee, and you get to take the trophy home now. That was a bite, by the way.
Dude, you know, it's that unbelievable feeling. It's, you know, it's just an accomplishment that I've set a long time ago. I wanted to win one of these. You know, I just have a drive. I'm really competitive. At anything I do, I'm very competitive. I just want to win. And I don't know. It's just it's a true accomplishment. It's satisfaction. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
I think earlier you said it was like really validating. That, you know, you've kind of, you've struggled for this for a while.
I have. I've been close a couple of times, and you know, it's one of them things. It's hard. It's like, to me, you're not a professional angler until you win a professional angler level tournament. So this sort of, to me, validated that, you know, I'm truly a professional bass angler. And, you know, I've really struggled. I really wanted one of these wins so bad. So yeah, it truly, that was what I set out to do, and accomplishment that I wanted, and the validation I wanted, you know, for myself. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thanks for taking us out, showing us how to catch them on Lake Martin. It looks like they're still biting, which I'm pretty happy about.
Yes.
And man, this has been a heck of a win and a great day 5. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank y'all very much.